Are you an entrepreneur or business owner who spends a ton of time trying to advertise on video just to have it get 0 views? You know why your video might not be captivating or converting? The answer might just lie in the power of branded video content. Today's guest on the podcast is Bruno Pozo. Bruno is a Bend, Oregon-based videographer and marketing enthusiast. From making short films in his youth to founding a six-figure successful production company, Bruno knows the ins and outs of video, branded content, and how to make it convert for an entrepreneur or business owner. Today, we're going to dive headfirst deep into the power of video marketing. You're going to discover how to make the right kind of videos that actually skyrocket your brand's visibility. You're going to learn some easy, actionable tips for getting on camera and easing that friction of getting started. And you're going to learn how to build an actual brand and community through your video content that you're spending so much time on. Plus, Bruno's going to share a few insider tips on how to make videos extra compelling. Whether you're an entrepreneur or a business owner who's looking to stand out and level up their marketing game, being online through video is a must nowadays, and this video is going to help you do that. So many insights in this episode, talking to an expert you guys are not going to want to miss. Be sure to check out all of Bruno's links in the description. Thank you for tuning in to episode 57 of the show, and without further ado, please welcome Bruno Pozo.
You will, I guess, sort of get that like personal branding imagery going. Sometimes businessy too. And then I'm into that same thing. I'm actually really into personal branding. I think I told you that's what I could talk about forever. But yeah, I'm also in that same vein of like just like helping businesses and people capture imagery that like aligns with their brand. I find that stuff fun, and like marketing is super fun. I'm not super into like actually doing the whole social media strategy, at least when it comes to Instagram. That's why I was even telling you I focus just on YouTube and LinkedIn, because those are the ones I personally enjoy. And then also I think there's just more upside to them.
Right. Well, we talk a lot about niching. Like even the guy I had on last week, he's fine. You want to get as niche as possible, but I think there's a balance there, right? So like, and you said it, like the people you enjoy working with, the platforms you enjoy spending time on, it's almost like feedback. So you know what you've given the most value out of. So it's like, you probably, the amount of value you gave me just like in our little call and then the follow-up, like I could tell you're like, it's like, yeah, he's in his zone right now. So that was really cool just from my standpoint to be on the receiving end of that. Cause dude, like be honest, like that's rare. And I don't, especially so like someone in my shoes doesn't get that very often. Usually like if some people are, you reserve service like that for the people that you get, stand to benefit from a lot. And, but yeah, so tell me like your like founding story, I guess. So I know, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we can start there. I guess for me, and I've been thinking about this recently, how do I sort of tell my story, or how did I end up here? Like connecting the dots, looking backward, as Steve Jobs has said. It's weird. But I suppose if I had to sum it up, it's all starts with COVID, because that's actually when I graduated from college. I had a degree actually in psychology, but I knew I wasn't going to have a career in it. And so I decided, or actually I didn't even decide. What ended up happening was COVID happened. The world was on lockdown, and I had like time, I guess, because the world was on pause, right? Like no one was like looking for jobs. No one's hiring. Everyone's just cooped up. And so it gave me time to sort of think about what my next step was, because I said, I knew I wasn't going to do a career in psychology, but I understood that the degree was probably going to help me no matter where I went, because at the end of the day, we're dealing with people in business. Right. And so I figured it was a very transferable knowledge set to have. And I still love it. Like, it's just my favorite subject outside of like filmmaking and other creative work. I love psychology. I just find humans and like the way our minds work fascinating. Nice. And during that time in COVID, I reconnected with an old buddy of mine. His name is Mateo Elvira. And we had actually been friends in middle school, but I had moved a lot growing up. And so it was actually my first time reconnecting with him in like a decade or something, which was crazy. And when we hung out, it was like a day hadn't passed. You know what I mean? Like we were back, like, oh, so nice to see you. We were just catching up, friends, really. Yeah. It was really like awesome. And so it was a very sincere moment. And during that conversation, we had talked about the things we were interested in, and we seemed like we were both sort of wanted to get into video production, mainly like in film. I want to do movies. He likes more TV, but either
Mhm.
way, we still had that drive to like do something along the vein of filmmaking.
Mhm.
And he was working as a SDR at the time for this SaaS company. I think it was for mechanics, something along the lines. But anyway, he was a salesperson, and after our meeting, apparently he felt so invigorated and passionate, he decided to quit his job and start the company with us. And so he moved back in with his parents. He moved out of his apartment and he left his SDR job and he opened up the LLC. And we started that January of 2021.
Oh my god,
And
dude.
it was
Okay.
crazy because, like I said, I've been thinking about it, connecting the dots backwards. He's the inciting incident, really. He's the one that like made me even realize that that was an option. I could just start up my own business. I was very much in the mindset of like employee, like what job can I get, and not like, oh, I can make a career like or a business for myself or a job for myself even.
Mhm.
I didn't even know that was even possible until I met Mateo. And so
Mhm.
like honestly, it's all because of him. And he's the reason, and he's the one who like did all the lead gen and uh outreach and everything during the start of the company. And so I was just the camera operator and like the editor and like the creative hand, and he was the business development hand. And so
Yeah.
honestly, that partnership is the only reason I stand before you right now. And it's amazing to think that that was only 3.5 years ago now, and somehow through that initial partnership, and I still work with him to this day. I am now in Oregon uh, with my new partner, as starting my own company, and
Mhm.
I've met Sam and all these other wonderful people like you because of that.
Yeah, man. Wow, that's awesome. What do you think is the value of having someone to go through it with like that? Because I know like freelance work is you can get very lonely, especially I mean, if it's you're doing it on your own, you spend a lot of time alone. And I found like I just recently got my first team member intern and I'm just like it's so motivating to show up for someone every day, and it's probably just because I'm not used to it right now. But having someone that you're showing up for, that's holding you accountable, that shares the same energy for what you do, it's like, and it's very top of mind for me. But what was that like, and like, what do you see the value in that?
I think I'm very, very lucky that I happen to start that way because, like you mentioned, I think the more common route is people start their own business and they end up being solopreneurs, right? They're doing
Mhm.
everything by themselves. They don't have anyone to hold them accountable or to uh, even just like bounce ideas off of or anything, right? Like you're literally just alone, so it can be very lonely.
Mhm.
And with Mateo, it was fortunate because we were both had skill sets that were complementary. And so definitely I think there's a ton of value in finding those partnerships, right? I've come to appreciate that business really is a team sport. It's not really meant to be done alone. You can
Mhm.
do it alone, and the technology allows us to do a lot alone. But I
Yep.
think it's like that old African proverb: if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with a group or go with a team. Like I think at the start it's perfectly fine and okay to be scrappy, go alone, and sort of be that solopreneur with just juggling everything. But the amount of value you get when you actually have a partner or some team, some sort of semblance of support, like you even said, even an intern, would
Mhm.
be a lot of work or a lot of help in the work that you have to do because there is just so much that you're involved in when you start a business. It's so funny. You don't
Mhm.
realize what you're signing up for, I think,
Mhm.
but at the same time that's what makes it so fun in my opinion. So having that support and a partner to help me through that was honestly invaluable, and I really do not think I would be in front of you right now had I not had him. If I had decided to do this venture by myself, I
Mhm.
don't know how long. I don't even know if I'd have my camera. I don't even know if I'd get leads. Yeah, it would have been a completely different journey and a completely different path for me. But
Mhm.
luckily I did have someone who was just actually took that reins, and through the years of working with him I've learned, but that initial support was everything.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good part of like because they say don't do business with friends. but then they never talk about like the positives of it too. Um, and I think when you both have a background in business, it's kind of a different situation. Like you understand, like, okay, these are the emotions that can come up, and that what people don't talk about is the genuine support that's there. When you both of them are truly invested, and you both see the positives and the fact that you're in a shared venture. Is something I've been thinking about lately because I was very much in the camp that I want to do this by myself. I want to be the remote travel freelance lifestyle. Spend a lot of time alone. Like I was always an introvert. So, but then just seeing seeing how motivated I am to show up every day for someone else is just taking me to a whole different mindset. So something that's very top of mind for me. So that's cool that came up kind of unexpectedly. But so video, like what can obviously, I mean, you are you are the master of video, like for in my circle. And that's why I was, dude, like I even told you before we started recording, like I was so excited today because it's a lot of the like for a cross section for me in between like value for the audience and just people I'm genuinely stoked to talk to, like this is like spot on in the middle. And you specialize in LinkedIn and YouTube. Um, those are the platforms I think where there's a lot of undervalued attention. Um, and that's where I mean video is getting more prominent on LinkedIn. Video obviously is prominent on YouTube, but I know LinkedIn is rolling out a Reels feature at some point,
Mhm.
which I'm kind of scared for because I feel like it's going to start getting like really visually stimulating, and then I'll be like less productive on there. But yeah, like what's your background in video? What do you see? What are you excited for? I mean, what's the whole gamut as far as LinkedIn and YouTube?
And you said your audience is mainly other like entrepreneurial minded people.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just want to make sure I just want to be able to provide as much value as I can in this
Mhm.
call. And so just based off of like what you're saying there, the opportunity that's before us right now, especially as you mentioned when it comes to LinkedIn and YouTube, I think is like nothing that has ever been seen in the world when it comes to business. Like I am so grateful that we live in the time that we do it now because there has never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. Like you said, we have so many tools and the advancements in technology
Mhm.
allow us to just reach so many people for basically the cost of free. That still
Mhm.
blows my mind.
Mhm.
Like you can post something on YouTube that gets a ton of views and it can actually start even providing you sources of income, whether it's through AdSense or affiliate links or affiliate marketing rather, and things like that. And I didn't have to pay for anything. Whereas back in the day, if you wanted to like have a video get seen by the public domain, you had to go through these gatekeepers, right? People in TV, people in magazines, or even like billboards, anything like that. You had to pay to have people see it. But it,
Mhm.
as you know, and I think most people watching this probably appreciate, we live in the age where attention is the economy, and it is out there to grab through these social media platforms. Like
Mhm.
there's just people spend so much time on YouTube, so much time on maybe not so much on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn's even growing. I'm actually really impressed and happy with the opportunity that LinkedIn provides, and we can definitely circle back to that later.
Mhm.
But the fact that we can reach people for free just by simply recording a video, even if it's just on your phone or your computer, and then having that uploaded and get seen by people is just honestly the most amazing opportunity right now. And that's why I feel very lucky that I'm in the video production world because, as you know, and it seems to be on everyone's mind, video is the leading form of content right now. And so there is such a high demand for video,
Yep.
but not just any kind of video. What really matters is high quality, well, not even, I don't even think it has to be well produced. Honestly, I don't even say that. By high quality, I just mean it actually provides value to the
Yeah.
audience, right?
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
can't just we can't just let me take a beat here. Competition is highest for low quality content. So people who want to just post like a random video that they don't put too much effort in, just hey, we want to promote our business, our service, whatever. that's
Mhm.
never really going to do well. That's the lowest hanging form of content you can make. It doesn't really uh, actually like speak to anyone. So if you can focus your efforts on creating high quality content, which I would say is actually like content that is valuable to other people, that's the game right now, and that's what people should be playing. And I think is such a great opportunity that we as business owners should definitely be taking advantage of.
Mhm. Yeah, man. I mean, I agree 100%. And I like what you said. It doesn't have to be high quality, it's the value that's behind it. Because there's such a big gap between, I mean, the bar is set so damn high, dude. Like,
Yeah.
we are so exposed to like the finest productions of everything. Everyone's on screens. And all you see is the gap between where you are and some of these companies that have a lot higher budgets to spend on advertising and so forth. So I think, what are some of the best things that people can do to overcome that friction of getting started? I know avoiding
Mm.
like the comparison trap is a big thing for me personally, because I'm not gonna lie, Bruno, I'm a little insecure in my editing skills, and I think a lot of people feel that way too. Um, so like, and not just the editing skills, like just being on camera in general is a kind of a transparent, vulnerable place to put yourself in. But I mean, it's not negotiable at this point. The people that are making waves online, that are marketing their business the best, are on video, and they're overcoming that, swallowing that frog of getting online. And so, what are some of the things you can do? Like, would you recommend for people just to get started, reduce that friction, make it easier to just get some kind of valuable content online through video?
Yeah, you're right. That's I mean, it's funny. Even myself, who has been on YouTube, like making content there since 2018, like fairly consistently, and I've only found my groove recently. But
Mhm.
even then, so that's 6 years of shooting myself on a camera. I still get like somewhat awkward, or I stumble my words. All of a sudden, I get a little more like your heart starts racing. So then you, like you said, your mouth is not at the same speed of your mind, and it's a whole mess. It's so weird. And it's such a dumb thing because I know mentally, like I can logically explain to myself, like, oh, there's nothing to be like scared of, or there's nothing to be so like amped up about. It's just a
Mhm.
camera,
Yeah,
but it still happens to me. And unfortunately, I just think it's one of those things you just have to like punch fear in the face and just do it.
yeah.
That's a Sean Cannell, punch fear in the face and hit record. It
Mhm.
At some point you just got to do it. The more you do it, it definitely gets easier. I won't say like it hasn't. It's been like a train wreck this whole time. It's
Mhm.
just I still randomly have these like days where it feels like it's so hard to get the words out on camera. But then when the camera's off, all of a sudden, it's flowing
Right.
amazingly smooth.
Yeah. That's how it
So
works.
unfortunately, that I think, like you said, reducing those friction points. So first step, just start using your phone. Don't overcomplicate the actual production process. Like you said,
Mhm.
um, I think that's something that we all, as some people can be like perfectionists, or we want to like over prepare, especially if you come from a professional background. I think that's like our tendency too. It's like
Mhm.
wanting to have all the right equipment, wanting to have everything perfect before we can, begin on the journey. But I think starting imperfect is always just the way to go. And like I said, start with your phone. That's easy. You can even edit on your phone. My recommendation here is actually CapCut. I use CapCut very frequently on my phone, so you can easily upload the library footage that you have on your iPhone. And through CapCut, you have so many advanced features, and it's for free, which is what is so crazy to me. But
Mhm.
like, there's even features like auto captions. You can import graphics. You can actually even enhance the audio in the
Mhm.
app for free. Um, and so, just starting small like that, and sorry, it's itchy.
No, you're good, man.
But
Good.
starting small so that you're not like creating all these hurdles, like, oh, I need to set up this light, oh, and let me get the microphone set up, let me get the camera on the tripod, let me make sure the whole room is clean. You don't really want to do that at the start. Unfortunately, you're just going to have to start with just your iPhone, and like I said, maybe like some simple editing software like CapCut. And
Mhm.
what's really important over anything, like we mentioned previously, it's about what's in it for the audience. That should be the only thing that's on your mind when you're creating any piece of content, but especially video, in my opinion, because video
Mhm.
allows you to communicate so deeply with someone, like us having this conversation right now, face to face. It
Mhm.
has a much deeper impact than just a still photo, than just audio or anything like that. I honestly truly believe in the power of video as a medium, and
Mhm.
that's why I recommend it wholeheartedly. But like I said, it can be overwhelming when you start thinking of all these factors that go into video.
Mhm.
But as long as you have that North Star of what is in it for the audience, how can I help them? Why would they watch this? Right? Like even answering that simple question will get you about 80% of the way there. And then that last 20% is just removing that friction of hitting record and just publishing it out there. Because at the end of the day, like I said, even 6 years later, I struggle. But the more you do it, the easier it get. And eventually, like I'll have these struggling moments, but I just push through and it's whatever, man. Like I still posted the video. It's better than like never posting at all.
Bruno, like you sold me. I've listened to this podcast. I see the value in video. I've checked out your channel. I see all your badass Canon reviews and videos. I see everything that you've done. I believe in the power of video, and I want to use it for my business or my entrepreneurial journey. What is the very first thing I do? Do I
Hmm.
set up an elaborate setup? What are the three checkpoints that I have to check for? I'm sold right away, right after I'm done listening to this. I'm filming a video. What do I do? Take me through it.
I love it. All right. First thing in my mind is who are you going to be targeting your videos for? Like, who are you making this for? If you can't answer that, there's no point in doing any of the subsequent steps. So, definitely answering that question, who is your ICP? And since we're talking to business owners, I think it's important time to like actually discuss like who are you, who is your audience? Who is the customer you're trying to reach? Right? Because I think
Mm.
using myself as an example here, my YouTube channel is actually not even targeted towards business owners, even though that's who I serve. And that puts me, and that's why those videos on the YouTube channel wouldn't work for my ICP because they're not, it wasn't made for them. It was meant for other filmmakers. So understanding that depending on who you're talking to, that's going to shape every decision you're going to make about the type of content you make. I don't mind the fact that one of my channels is more targeted towards, I guess, like my peers versus my ideal client profile. Because at the end of the day, as long as I'm building an audience and as long as I'm connecting with people online, it's gonna help me out no matter what business I'm in, because now people are going to see me as some sort of participant. And in this case, I would say a thought leader, maybe in my niche.
Yeah.
And so, although my YouTube channel is geared towards filmmakers and people who do video production, it's funny when I send that profile to clients, they're still impressed, right? Because they're like, oh, this is not content for me, but they still can see the social proof and the sort of audience that I've built and see that I'm someone who actually like not only talks the talk but walks the walk.
Right. Yep.
But
Yep.
definitely, if you're a business owner, like that's something you should make that distinguish. Is the if you're a business owner, what I'm trying to say here is that make sure that your content's actually speaking to that audience. Because
Mm.
I think if I started my YouTube channel, I think I would actually do it differently now. I would actually make it talking about video production as a business or a business strategy and a content strategy rather than just the how-to
Mm.
of filmmaking. But nonetheless, just make sure you're clear on that, because then once you have the ideal customer profile and the person you're going to be speaking to, now we can play the game of what is it that can help them. And
Mm.
sometimes you can do this a few ways. You can research it using uh, tools like vidIQ is one that I use, and it's essentially just a keyword research tool. Use any keyword research tool you like. Another popular one I know is SEMrush, and that one's meant mainly for Google. But what I like about vidIQ is that it's much simpler and easier to understand for a beginner,
Mhm.
and YouTube is owned by Google, so there is some overlap with the data and sort of the outcomes. But what I like to do is find the keywords or the questions that people are looking up around the topic that your product or service revolves around. For example, with me, when it comes to the filmmaking stuff, I remember one of the keywords I looked up was just like the camera brand that I used, which was Canon. And I just typed in Canon, and then a bunch of keywords are going to come up, and you're going to see like, oh, there'll be certain patterns, right? Like some of them would be like Canon R6 video tutorial. That's like a clue. It's like, okay, someone's clearly searching how to maybe set up their camera. And then other ones are like Canon R6 autofocus settings. You'd be like, okay, so there's people who are trying to figure out how to autofocus works on their camera. There's going to be something like that for whatever niche or product that you provide. And those are big clues towards the sort of the types of content that you can create now, right? Now we have like a strategy of like, oh, this is what people are searching for. This is what their pain points are, or maybe this is what their outcomes are, right? Like how to shoot beautiful video, like maybe that's a common search term. Now you're going to collect all those data points, and now you have honestly like an endless stream of content ideas, because basically you're getting it directly from the source of what Google, or in this case YouTube, tells you is commonly being searched. So now you have two things. One, you know what people are searching for, so you know there's a valid idea, like video concept, waiting to be made right there. And then two, you have that built-in audience, because now there's a search volume tied to that. And then three, now you can even build on it, right? Like maybe you realize people are searching a certain term or a certain outcome, and maybe that's not exactly the right term, or maybe it's an outcome that you can actually teach them is like, oh, this is how you can achieve that outcome. There's a lot of like avenues that you can take that those just from the keywords alone. You have so much content ideas, and that'll keep you busy for months. Like I'm still working on some of those tutorials that I did just keyword research on like 6 months ago. And that would be step two. Like that's take advantage of all these keyword research tools, because they'll give you the insights on what are people looking for and how are they looking for it, right? Like the types of keywords they use, and then you kind of get into SEO in that regard. And then the last step is record. And I think I sort of teased it earlier, but keep it stupid simple. Make sure you're by like maybe a nice window so you have light on your face. Set up a tripod or some sort of stable flat top for the camera. In this case, I would really just recommend iPhones. There's no point in investing in an expensive equipment at the start, especially if you don't even know you like doing video content. And if you do, then sure, happily get the equipment, but don't feel pressured at the start. There is no rush. And then just a good audio. And sometimes the mic, the iPhone works, but just make sure the iPhone's like around this distance, maybe 3 feet, because the closer the mic is to the source, the better quality. And then just hit record and actually deliver on the value that you promised based on the research that you did. So if someone was like, how do I fix my foot pain? Answer that question in the video. Actually deliver on, hey, here's the remedies I would recommend for aches in your feet. Something like that. But those are the 3 steps. It's know your audience, and then research their problems and get their pain points and their outcomes they want. And then finally deliver on that content through the video in whatever way that you decide is the best way to do that.
Man, I think we can end the podcast right there. That was really good. I like how you started with the foundation, the research. And I would encourage people too to, like, when you're doing this research, to pick a topic you're genuinely excited about too. I think that's going to come across in the video. No matter, I mean, you want to find like that sweet middle of what people are searching for, what you can add the most value in, what you're genuinely excited to do. Because like there's a million, if you go to any industry, there's the stereotypical plug and play content of like, like for me, it's like web design trends 2024. It's like, okay, that's been played out so many times. There's so many videos, content covering that. When it comes to marketing, like how to generate 100 leads on autopilot, how to create passive income, like all these, there's a lot of overplayed topics, but I'd encourage people to like, how can you put your own spin on it too? And I like how you got like into the tactical side of things too, because I mean, like even with me, like starting the podcast, like and I'm sure you can relate to this in some area, is you find every reason why you shouldn't do something. Like, and it can be the stupidest things too. Like, oh, I don't know how to use video. I don't have a camera. I don't have any equipment. And I like how you're putting our feet to the fire by just saying, all you need is your phone. All you need is a window, and all you need is not even a tripod. You can literally just set it up and stand close. So there's really no excuse, which is it's good and bad. But yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. I'm sold on the value of video. I've done my research. I'm filming, so I know what should I do when I'm approaching different platforms. Should I factor that
Mm.
into the production quality? Do I turn my phone sideways or do I go up and down? And should I try and be everywhere at once or should I go one at a time? Where do I decide where to post? How should I factor that into the video content I make?
Yeah, the platform actually does play a significant role because, as you sort of alluded to, um, it's going to change the strategy. It's going to change the format in which you want to like set the video up in, and even the strategy of like how you distribute it will be different depending on the platform. And
Mhm.
so I have a few recommendations here. First one, definitely start on one. Don't overwhelm yourself. I think it's easy to want to be everywhere at all at once, and you can, but I always find that strategy to be too overwhelming, especially at the start. And honestly, in this day, as you sort of mentioned earlier, the quality of things is so high that
Mhm.
if you're just trying to play this quantity game,
Yeah.
uh, it's good for the start because it actually gets you some reps in. You're going to get some practice in. There's nothing
Right.
wrong doing quantity at the start, but at some point, you do want to make sure that you're actually delivering on the value in the content, and that's why
Mhm.
I think the quality side starts to come back. And like I said, quality doesn't have to mean production quality. By the way, I really just think that means quality to and value to the viewer. What was the question again? I already lost track now. We were saying.
How should I factor in what platform I'm deciding to post on, like in production?
Yes. Oh yeah, we are saying start on one. Yeah.
Mhm.
So to button up that point, definitely just start on one. Keep it super
Mhm.
simple. And then as for strategies, I think it really depends on the business you're in. If you're something like doing a consumer good, like direct to consumer products, things like that, you want to go where the consumers are. And so choosing the platform which could be as simple as your demographic target demographic and then like the product or service you provide and then seeing where those people are. And in this case, I think most of those sort of like consumer product stuff, Instagram, TikTok's probably your best bet. There's just so much people there, and you can easily find uh, keywords and ideas even on the platforms natively. Especially TikTok has actually amped up their search engine very well. Um,
Mhm.
Versus someone like me who does high ticket maybe services like video production or maybe even coaching. I think you can get away with something more like LinkedIn or YouTube. Not
Mhm.
to say you can't do it on the other platforms, but I think those platforms would definitely be more leaning towards the target demographic you're trying to reach.
Mhm.
So just understanding back once again to the who you're talking to. The who is going to inform the which platform you're going to choose, and then once you've chosen the platform, just stick with the one to get started because you really just don't want to overwhelm
Mhm.
yourself. And then if you want some specific tactics, uh, I only really know best practices when it comes towards YouTube and LinkedIn. I only know a little bit, mostly like for text based posts,
Mhm.
not so much for video. But when it comes to YouTube, I treat it a lot like just another search engine, which it really is a glorified search engine.
Mhm.
And it is owned by Google. So there is some overlap even in terms of like how their search engine ties into Google, which is
Mhm.
why I am over the moon and really bullish on YouTube.
Mhm.
But so I treat it as a search engine, which is why earlier I sort of mentioned the keyword research.
Mhm.
That's going to be the informational part towards uh, the content that we're gonna make, but then also how we're gonna format it for the search engine. So when it comes to YouTube, the way it ranks videos is you want the keywords to show up in the title, description, and then the tags.
Mhm.
Tags doesn't really matter as much these days, but the reason I like using it is because vidIQ will use the tags to actually pull information about how your video is ranking for those search terms. So any keywords you use, I put them in the tags. And a secret tip here actually is you're a personal brand or even a business brand, you always want to use your name or your channel name in the tags, because that's going to help you rank for when people just search up your term. So actually, if you go on Google right now and you search up my name, Bruno Pozo, I can guarantee you I actually pop up, and it'll be like the first one is probably my YouTube channel or LinkedIn. And that's because
Mhm.
of all the content I've posted with that tag of Bruno Pozo. And surprisingly enough, there's actually a lot of Bruno Pozos. I remember I used to Google my name and I never popped up, but now I do, which is like mind blowing to me, because
Yeah,
I've
you
I've
made it,
stolen
man.
the yeah
Yeah.
I land grabbed the online space because of all the content I've been doing. So like I said, there's such value to actually creating content too. But yeah, I
Mhm.
would definitely recommend people actually putting their names or their business name in the tag, because like I said, as you continue to produce content, Google, which is tied to YouTube, will recognize that. And so when you do search for that term on Google, you'll show up, which is amazing. But that's
Mhm.
just a side note. But going back towards the keywords and how to take advantage of them for the title and description, as you probably know, are you familiar with SEO?
Yes, I am.
A little bit. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, then you understand just all the game with that is just basically when someone's searching for a certain keyword, Google wants to make sure that it's serving that person the video or the piece of website in this case
Mhm.
that's actually going to serve the end result that they want, right? Like whether
Yeah.
I know there's Google even classifies different intentions for different keywords,
Mhm.
which is really cool. But besides that, so the so all YouTube's trying to do is organize, hey, when someone searches how to fix back pain, what's the video that's most likely going to help them and solve that issue for them? And in YouTube and in Google's case, that's going to be determined by watch time and click through rate and things like that. But that's all it's trying to do. So when we're using these keywords in the title and description, we're just trying to reinforce and tell YouTube, hey, this video is about X, this keyword that I'm targeting for. Can you make sure that when people search this target keyword, that my video shows up? That's all
Mhm.
it's trying to do. And you can even get really technical with this. And something that has actually been proven to help is even using the words within in the video, or sorry, using the keywords, speaking them out in the video, or using them in text, because YouTube actually scans every frame of every video that gets uploaded.
Mhm.
And this is actually something that was brought up to me recently, and I didn't even think about it because that's actually 100% true, because that's actually how it detects when there's copyright fraud, right? Because it's actually
Mhm.
scanning the content, double checking, hey, is this video or frame some sort
Mhm.
of copyrighted material that should be flagged for someone. So
Yeah.
YouTube is actually watching your videos. So if you put on the screen like the first 30 seconds, and we want to rank for like video production, in the first 30 seconds, I say, hey, I'm gonna talk about video production techniques for beginner filmmakers. If I'm targeting those keywords, I say it in the first few seconds. If I put some text on the screen that has those words, YouTube recognizes it and will actually add that into its consideration for actually ranking your video for those search terms. So
Mhm.
it's like little things like that, and just taking advantage of those tools that YouTube actually uses to rank videos, and
Mhm.
making sure that your content includes those keywords verbally in the title, in the description, and in the text.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that, man. You clearly know like the nuances, the ins and outs of it, and it's kind of cool to see you nerd out on something you're really passionate about. Um, and like that's there's fulfillment in anything, like the value in getting to interview people that actually enjoy what they do and can provide so much value on it. Just I like to be a bug on the wall for that stuff. So thank you for that. But yeah, I mean, there's so many of the technical nuances, and we're kind of zooming in and out as far as the rudimentary basics, as far as how do I get started, and then giving people a runway to really dive in and get into the nitty gritty of the details. Like, dude, I think a lot of your value, if I could tell you of like how the value you offer, not just to me, but to I mean other people online, is like the technical side of how to get found, like the SEO component, the all these small little checkbox tasks like SEO, the keywords, the tagging, all that stuff. Like that's stuff that not everyone knows about. Like anyone can get on a mic and say, okay, you need to get on video. because it'll build your personal brand. You need to show your face. Like anyone, like a lot of the thought leaders say that, and that's what a lot of the saturated content is out there. It's like, okay, I want to get on video, and I want to know how. I want to actually get found. I want it to be effective for my business, for whatever I'm doing, just to get more visibility. And like, there's a lot of people that just tell you to suck it up, get on camera. But the technical nuances of like how to actually make it effective is not something that I don't think a lot of people are talking about. So I definitely see the value there. What is it about YouTube that, I mean, we kind of touched on it already, but I think, and I'll kind of give you like a personal anecdote. YouTube is, and I'll just put my feet to the fire here. YouTube is hard for me because I want, like, to me, YouTube is like TV. It's such high standards and production quality, and I need to get over that. So this is me being vulnerable and transparent here, but I thought about like how I could reduce that friction, make it easier, because it is just the people that are killing it online have some sort of YouTube presence and they're consistent with it. And they know the nuances of how to do it well. So knowing that, I want to reduce the friction, get online, do it effectively. What are the biggest things that set people apart from, okay, it's just a checkbox task. We upload every week. We don't put a ton of time into the production. We don't really think about how it's, converting, to the people that are actually getting converting clients on YouTube. What's the differentiation there? How do they set themselves apart?
I think definitely being able to rank is a helpful feature, but it's not the whole story. Like you mentioned, there is a piece to actually getting people to watch the content all the way through, because that is what YouTube ultimately decides is a successful video, is watch time. Because they, like all the other platforms, they just want you to stay on theirs for the longest, because then they can get the most AdSense as you go through your day consuming this content and spending more time on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the biggest difference between, like you said, that the checking off the box, sort of just going through the ropes, versus someone who's like ultra successful and like maybe performing at a higher level, it's really taking advantage and understanding your viewer, the platform, and honestly just good execution on an idea, right? On YouTube, because it is sort of, I would say, it leans towards like edutainment. There's
Mm-hmm.
education content, and there's just traditional
Yeah.
entertainment content.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of have to sugar coat your
Mm-hmm.
content in a way to like sort of dangle the carrot in front of people,
Yes,
to get
packaging.
them to packaging. There you go. So you understand, like, there's an element of packaging that you do have to play into when you're playing a social media game, unfortunately. I mean, I wish I could just create a video called like how to invest in your 401k ultimate guide or something, and it would crush. But no
Yeah.
one cares. No one's gonna be that interested in something very mundane and something boring like that. So actually learning how to package your video is probably 80%, 90% of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What
and I
what all
don't.
what are the what goes into packaging? So is that,
Mhm.
what is that, thumbnail, title? What is that?
Yeah, you got it. Thumbnail, title, and actually even the first two lines of the description, if you really want to get nerdy, because that will preview on the desktop at least.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but those are the things that you want to be considering, and ultimately it just goes back to very fundamental marketing practices, right? Like, don't talk about benefit, or don't talk about features, talk about benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Use plain, easy to understand language. Don't use like your industry jargon that will alienate 90% of people. Going
Mm-hmm.
back to that financial like 401k video, are you familiar with Graham Stephan by chance?
Yes, iced
Yeah,
coffee
so
hour. Yeah.
yes, iced coffee. Yes, but
Mm-hmm.
he basically runs a financial education channel,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't feel like it. He makes it fun. He never titles his titles something boring like how to invest in your 401k. It's something more alluring, like how to be a millionaire by the time you're 40, or you know what I mean, or
Mm-hmm.
how anyone could be a millionaire in doing this one thing. You know what I mean? There's a curiosity that's created. there's the carrot of like, oh, I want the outcome of, hey, who doesn't want to be a millionaire, right? Like, shit,
Mm-hmm.
I just gotta do one thing to be a millionaire. What is it? And it's just something boring like 401k. But like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that packaging, but you need to play that packaging game because otherwise people aren't gonna watch the video. So just knowing that, you really have to play into the social media platforms and just give people a little bit of what they want, but then in the video give them what they need. It's sort of like
Yeah.
that mentality. And I can talk into like sort of copywriting practices for a little bit. I'm not super good at it, but the more you actually just spend time, even if you just go on YouTube and just scroll, you'll see it. You'll start to see how people package things. You'll see how people don't talk about features. They talk about outcomes, or they use simple language. There's a lot of like primary colors in the thumbnail or heavily saturated. Depends also on the niche, right? Like Mr.
Mm-hmm.
Beast thumbnails are ridiculously like sharp, oversaturated, and like have his face like super close, like
Yeah.
really tight. That works for kids because that's who his audience is typically
Mm-hmm.
younger, children. Versus in our world where we're doing business, maybe like direct to consumer, or I would say even more interestingly, B2B, you're probably not going to be doing something that crazy. You have to make sure that you're packaging it, once again, going back to who's your audience, packaging it so that's enticing to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you can go to, there's a bunch of examples of people doing it in quote unquote boring niches. Like I mentioned Graham Stephan, but you can even use Alex Hormozy as an example. Like
Mm-hmm.
business content really doesn't do very well on YouTube because I think it is leans more heavily towards entertainment. But even Alex Hormozy was able to break through by including that entertainment factor and also knowing that he has to sort of play the game of the packaging game of YouTube, which is title
Yeah.
and thumbnail, and getting people interested and not just talking about like, oh, here's like 5 business lessons that that actually would be a good title, like 5 business lessons that made me a millionaire, but something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, you can think of a more boring business one, like how to create an invoice for your business. I don't know. Like you gotta package that better. It's like how to charge clients more using this one trick or something like that. It's just
Yeah.
understanding like how you can actually package the video in a way that gets people interested. And then
Mm-hmm.
once you got them in, it's actually delivering on that promise in a
Yeah.
unique and doesn't always have to be the most fun, but at least interesting way.
Yeah, dude, I love this so much, man, because there's no one's free from this. Okay, like we're all playing the content game at some point, and it's like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you're doing. And there's just value in knowing this stuff no matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, doesn't matter what your goals are. It's like there's no downside to delivering value online, whether it's through video, mostly through video, or anywhere else. But that's why like learning this stuff, being a student of the game is so important, and um, that's why I'm in touch with you, and that's why this is something that, and it's like not even my exact industry, and even like, so I do marketing and design, like
Mhm.
so much of elements of video is stuff that I talk about recommending too. So if people want to increase their visibility online, a big part of their marketing should be video, because that's how people are consuming content. And if you learn the fundamental basics, like how to package your offering, no matter what platform you're on, and delivering on the value, creating a simple, low friction plan where people can just do it in some way. Like there's a lot. I mean, one thing I recommend is just turning the camera around and in an authentic environment, even if you're outdoors, just having a real talk. Because if people buy from people, and people seeing your face is just so important. They know what to expect from you. They know your vocal cadence, especially if you're in a local business, which we both are. We're both very involved locally with our chambers of commerce and networking groups and so forth. And no matter what platform you're on, no matter what industry you're in, I mean, there's video is so important. So I think you have to know these fundamental basics, or else you're just selling yourself short. But what are some of the trends you see? What has you excited about the industry of video? I mean, we talked a lot about YouTube. What do you see happening on different platforms? Where should people like be? What has you excited about I know you're in the industry a lot. Is there anything
Yeah.
equipment wise or anything changing in terms of how we're going to be consuming content, or things that we should know as we go about, getting more consistent with video online?
uh, the real there is definitely like AR and VR content. I think is gonna be such a huge player in the next decade because it's such a untapped source of content. Like no one's really making that stuff. So if you can get in on it early, definitely that's like a land grab just waiting to be taken.
Hmm.
When does it become popular is like the big question. But I just know that that is going to be at some point an important part of the content creation strategy in the future, which is crazy to think, but that is coming. And
Hmm.
then as terms of like things that got me excited, honestly, I guess LinkedIn is the one for me, just because it still is uh, I want to say infantile like social media platform, but that's not the right word. It's just that it's also untapped. I think it's
Yeah.
something like 80-90% of the actual users don't like post.
Yeah.
So if you're posting, you're like ahead of you're in the 91 percentile of people
Yeah.
already, which is insane to think. It's like so
Uh-huh.
there's just so much potential on that platform. And that's
Yeah.
not even just video specific, but as you mentioned, they're trying to take advantage of this tendency towards vertical form. So they are
Hmm.
going to be doing these real feed, TikTok style feeds, which is cool. And I think is also somewhat exciting, but I'm definitely like one of those people that misses just standard horizontal content. Having to format and be conscious of uh, two aspect ratios is
Yeah.
kind of a lot, but it is what it is. Um, and then honestly, I know if YouTube and a lot of these platforms feel saturated right now, like Instagram and TikTok, but truly, we are still in the beginning stages of these platforms. YouTube might be maturing a little more, but even then, it is such a globally recognized like platform. It's just not going anywhere. So you got to jump in at some point, at least in my opinion. Especially as I kind of was saying earlier, I think YouTube is particularly valuable just because it's it lasts longer. The content lasts longer. It has a longer shelf life. If you
Hmm.
post something on Instagram Reels, no one's really watching that 48 hours later, and no
Hmm.
one's really going on your profile and like scrolling past, unless
Hmm.
you're like a stalker or something, maybe. But so versus YouTube as a platform, people still watch my videos that I've posted 2, 3 years ago. And
Hmm.
some of them are just like basic tutorials or guides or simple answers to very simple questions,
Hmm.
taking advantage of like the keyword research that I did.
Yeah.
Those still get views because the platform is also a search engine. So it actually catalogs and keeps a record of all the content. And so I think there's such an opportunity there, and compared to the other platforms where that's not really a thing and you're not really searching on people's platforms, that's not something that's like on the horizon. But I think that's something worth considering when you're thinking about taking advantage of these social media platforms.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I'm kind of testing this like hypothesis, so I'd appreciate your feedback on this. But like, what do you think about? Because I saw your post recently about one of your very older YouTube videos. Like a long time had gone by since you checked, and it had like thousands of more views than like, because these things will like, the YouTube is a platform, like it's a library, dude. Like it's always
Yeah,
growing. You can go there and check out a book, and it'll be there years later, which is it's encouraging from an investment standpoint because
yeah,
when you're on short form, it's like it can feel like you're always in this rabbit race of trying to produce content over and over, having something out every day. Whereas with YouTube, it's probably worth it to spend more time up front and investing in quality content, doing the research, because it's like when you look at it, if you make like an investment analogy, say like social media is kind of like like day trading, buying stocks. Like you can have these big hits, you have these, it's very volatile. You can get a lot of exposure that probably won't translate to long term gains. But then maybe YouTube is more like investing in an asset, like buying a business or getting a house, a mortgage.
hmm
where you have this long tail effects, for years and years. So I really like that concept you brought up there of how the platform's different. I think anyone listening to this can take away a lot from not just platform knowledge, but how they can get started in leveraging that for their business, no matter what industry they're in. Um, but yeah, man, like I said, I was like super stoked to have this chat, and it delivered for me. Especially as I mean, transparently, especially as I get more into leveraging video. I think, like I said, there's no one that's free from having this knowledge. It's just going to benefit you, and I think a lot of our work is decreasing the stigma around it and helping people get started, and realizing that it's all kind of a shared hurdle we have to overcome, because it is an innovating platform. It's where all the most visible, successful businesses are online, and it's important. So I want to thank you, dude. Like, I told you it was going to be the highlight of my day, and you delivered. So I can't thank you enough, like, for your time. Where can people find you? Learn all about Pozo production, learn your story, engage with your content, see how it's done right online. Where can they go?
So actually, on everything, I should be Bruno Pozo for real, like the number 4,
Hmm.
and then real, because apparently Bruno Pozo was already taken on a lot of them. So I decided to like actually aggregate it all just to that handle. So you can find me on LinkedIn with that handle, Instagram, TikTok. I don't really post on those latter two, but then but YouTube and LinkedIn, very active. Bruno Pozo for real. Um, and I want to thank you again for having me on. I really appreciate it. Sorry if I get a little rambly. I know you'll probably have some fun editing. But yeah, I just can just talk about the advantage and the opportunity that is before us forever. Like I find the internet, content, and social media just completely fascinating. So thank you again for letting me rant.